moving on to Liverpool and Inter.
So Liverpool also has some very interesting fixtures. So we've already discussed the Real Madrid game. I think that's going to be a standout game for them. The biggest game for me is Leverkusen. Purely because you have Xabi Alonso coming to Anfield, and it's almost going to be a showcase game for him because he will go against Slot and he will try and give the Anfield crowd a taste of what his football is all about. And I think the way they play football, I can see this game actually ending up in a 3-3 with something happening in the final few minutes. It can be really fun to watch.
With Leverkusen, it's always the final few minutes.
It's always in the final few.
I'm actually looking forward to this game.
Yeah.
Like it's one of my fixtures to watch as well.
Correct.
So yeah, it should be very interesting.
I think that's the beauty of this format, right? Like earlier, maybe we would not have got such diverse fixtures to kind of look forward to in one particular league.
Correct.
And of course, there is the Liverpool-Milan game. I think this will always be a fun one after the history of this tie. Apart from this, I think more or less they have a decent fixture slot. I can't really see too many subplots in this. Maybe Manan, Nisha and Varun, you guys can look at it more closely.
No, actually, I don't think there are any sort of subplots per se. I think it should be fairly easy sailing through in the top 8 for Liverpool. And they might have exciting matches against a couple of teams, but overall, I think it would be fairly smooth for them.
Just a conjecture. Liverpool has won 3 of their first 3 games in the Premier League. They have relatively easier fixtures for the next 2. Arne Slot should win the first 5 in a row for sure. By December, they may be top of the league and they may be top of their Champions League group. Do you think there's a shout out for that happening in Slot's first season?
I don't think so. I think he will likely not top the Premier League.
Okay. I'm saying specifically till December.
Yeah, I'm talking about until December as well.
I think we as fans get carried away too fast, too soon, and that is both on an upside as well as downside. Right? So there's only been 3 matches so far, right? It's way too early to kind of get into that kind of conclusions and actually say, like, oh my God, this guy is going to be like top of the league December of Champions League and Premier League. I'll give you an example, UV. You remember like Arteta's first full season, and after the first 3 games, Arsenal was bottom in the relegation zone. I come over to your place to watch a game, and I was wearing an Arsenal jersey, and everyone was like, he's going to be the first manager to be sacked. Like, I've seen him manage, I've seen Arsenal play under him. Just wait and watch, right? So that's what I'm saying, right? It's too early. The first 3 games don't mean anything, right? And again, like I'm not trying to defend Ten Hag or anyone, but anything can happen, right? It's just first 3 games. Yeah, I mean, he can go and kind of go on a good run from here, and then fans change their opinion about him, right? Too early in the season.
Fair enough, fair point.
That's an Arsenal fan for you. You was one of them who thought Arsenal will win the league also initially. When
Last year I really thought that
I think they were closer, no? The 2 seasons ago, they were top of the league.
They were top of the league with 8 points, with City being having game in hand, and there were 2 bad losses for Arsenal. One against Liverpool and I think one against Villa, and then the entire league table changed. Last year, in fact, I thought Arsenal were the real deal, and by all accounts they were, right? I think they did everything in their power to kind of win it. It's just City were unmatchable. Yeah.
Only problem with Liverpool is going to be the bench strength. I think workload management wise, they don't have the ideal replacements which will, help them. Like, if you want to rest Van Dijk, for an example, you don't have an able replacement, I feel.
Yeah.
Or a Salah, or I don't know, a McAllister. Do you have that able replacements, the able bench who is good enough, especially defensively? They have a good backup for right back, like Connor Bradley is very good for Trent. But a left back again, Andy Robertson and Tsimikas, especially centre backs. They don't have the strength in the centre backs on the bench. Konate is also very injury prone. I don't know. Only Konsa is one I can remember. Otherwise, I don't think they have that kind of strength.
Even midfield, right? So Sabosla, Gravenberch, and McAllister. And if you like couple of injuries over here, and then
No, midfield is sorted. Yeah? Curtis Jones, Harvey Elliott, and
but imagine Curtis Jones, Harvey Elliott playing against Madrid or Leverkusen for that matter, and I think they'll be very light in the midfield against such teams, right?
Yeah, so I
in
think
Champions League. So, I think it's kind of that's what I'm saying. Like it's very early to say anything about this Liverpool team. I feel.
Fair point. So moving to Inter Milan, Manan, do you want to take this with you?
Yeah, I think Inter Milan have sort of a balanced draw, I would say. It's not really very good or not very bad either. They have two very difficult games with City and Arsenal. Then two games where they should be competitive with Leverkusen and Leipzig. And 4 games where I would bank on them to win. So they have a balanced draw. Like, I would not say it's really easy or really difficult. It's good. It's exciting. And looking at the draw, I have a feeling that they would finish between like 6 to 12 or something like that, depending on the results of a couple of games here and there. Subplot wise, of course, we've discussed the Champions League final and the treble winning season of Man City. I think against Leverkusen also it would be fun because it's a match of two teams playing 3 at the back going against each other, but it's not 3 at the back with defensive tactics, like very attacking tactics.
yes.
And 2 of my favorite coaches going around, like young upcoming coaches, and both coaches are sort of legendary footballers for their own clubs. Like Simone Inzaghi, even though he wasn't as well known as Pippo Inzaghi, but for Lazio he was really, really good, and he's a legendary player for them. So that's interesting. But otherwise, I think it's a fairly straightforward, balanced draw.
I feel it's like more like top 4 teams are really good, and the bottom 4 teams are like really poor. Like I think it's like
The gulf is too high.
yeah, very extreme. Yeah, let's move to the next one, guys. Ishan, you want to take over Dortmund?
Yeah, Dortmund. Dortmund, I think, except there are 2 fixtures, they have a very comfortable draw. Barcelona, Real Madrid are the only teams I can think which is going to be difficult to beat them. But otherwise, problem with Dortmund is they have let go of the old manager. They are not. They have a new manager now in place, and there's a new team as such. Like the Hummels has left. I think
Hummels is joining Roma, isn't he?
Yeah,
That's what I've heard, yeah.
yeah. He has already landed in Roma.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so he's joining that. So Dortmund have a relatively new team with a new manager. So how do they manage the matches against the other teams like Shakhtar and Club Brugge? Through the, I don't know, Bologna again also. Like they performed. Bologna was a great team last season, but they have let go of their. They had to let go of their best stars and the manager also.
So with regard to Dortmund, have you guys seen any of their games this year? Or have you guys followed any of their matches?
Not.
Manan, any thoughts around this? Or follow kiya hai to?
No, I haven't seen any of Dortmund's games. I saw a couple of scores, and I think they drew 1 game and they won 1 game, something like this. I think they'll still it's a fairly straightforward draw, despite the fact that they have a lot of new players and a new manager. I think it should be straightforward because Sahin was the assistant coach, so it's sort of an internal transition, and not much will possibly change. So I think Dortmund is fairly secure for top 18.
Okay. Moving to Leipzig. Varun, do you want to take this?
Sure. I think Leipzig has a tough fixture list as I see it. I mean, top four teams are of course like pretty difficult. Liverpool at home, Inter away, Juventus at home, Atletico away, and then to add to those four, we have Celtic away, and the Celtic atmosphere, the way it is, I think anything can happen when you go play away to Celtic, right? And then to add to that, Aston Villa at home under Emery. Aston Villa is a pretty decent team, right? So again, it could be a tricky fixture for Leipzig, and Sporting as well, right? It's again cannot discount Sporting as well. So I think it's a
Very
tough
difficult
set of fixture for Leipzig. I don't see them coming in the top. I would say the top 10 actually. Based
I
on
think top 24 also will be difficult for them.
top 10.
I could see that
they can be one of the casualties from the pot one.
Yes.
Honestly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So, but I
Where Aston Villa would be favorite against that.
But I think top 24 should be doable, but I don't think it will be top 12 for sure. Like for the top 10, top 12 will be very difficult. Top 24, I think they should be able to do it.
Yeah, when looking at their fixtures, they could easily lose 7 out of 8. You know,
No, but the thing is that you have to look at it from the other point of view, from a point of view of teams that are there in pot 3 and pot 4, correct? See their fixture list from their point of view, it's much more difficult.
yeah.
So that's why I'm saying top 24 is doable easily for them. It's not as if it's not. It's just that
Yeah. Fair enough.
the top 12, top 10.
Maybe the last bracket, the 16 to 24, they may end up somewhere along this line.
Yeah.
So one interesting thing here, because we finally see Aston Villa, a little bit more prominently here. Emery is a great manager in terms of setting up the team, but given that this will be Villa's first Champions League season, I'll correlate this to when Newcastle finally got Champions League football and the kind of passion which the fans have during those matches. I think it plays a big role. So I expect Villa to do really well even in their home games, because the atmosphere will be like, they don't know if they are going to qualify again, possibly, right? Like they would hope to do so. But for them, this is like the ultimate pinnacle of success over the last so many years. So I think I can really see Villa being in the top 16 for sure.
And Emery is a master of
Yeah.
making mid-table teams perform well in European stage, right? With Sevilla, he won
Very true.
Europa League.
Back to back to back.
Yeah, exactly.
Villarreal as well.
Yeah. So he's very good at making these mid-table teams play well in on the European stage. Also, if you're comparing a Villa to Newcastle, Newcastle actually he had no experience of managing in Champions League, right?
Oh, I was actually giving the reference to Bobby Robson. This was like back in the day. Yeah. No, they are actually qualified. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, also, I think Villa, just because we are on this topic, Villa has an advantage because of the money that they get through the Premier League. Their squad depth is really good. Like a surprise team from a Germany or an Italy, like a Bologna or like a Stuttgart, they may not be able to manage the squad across different competitions. But Villa have had a really good transfer window, and they've increased depth across many areas of their squad. And I think that's why they might be better suited to compete well as an outsider than teams from other leagues.
Another very interesting perspective which comes out because of this is key. Imagine if you are Emery, you have a stage to kind of showcase how good you can be at a Champions League level. Like, I don't see him leaving Villa, but just by showcasing him against Inter, Juventus, Atleti, it kind of opens up a new avenue for him, right? Which he would not have got otherwise.
But he has done so often already. Like he has won Europa League. I mean,
but he's only done well at the Europa League, right?
This is the next level.
Yeah, he's won 3 Europa Leagues, so he's competed in at least 3 Champions Leagues. And he's never qualified from the group and qualified third and gone back to the Europa League and won that. So his record in the Champions League is actually not very good.
Let's move to the next one. Ishan follows a lot of Barcelona football, so I think he can start this up.
Yeah, so Barcelona have, under the new manager, have a very bright start. They have won 4 as of when we are recording this video. And despite the injuries to their main stars like Frankie de Jong, Ronaldo Rao, Christensen, despite the Gavi, despite those,
Javi is coming back, by the way. He's started individual training.
yeah, I think he's still couple of months away.
Yeah.
He's still couple of months away. So how do they manage their injuries, and hopefully they don't get more, is going to be key for this. So they can't afford any more injuries. They already lost their holding midfielder Mark Bandar to an ACL injury, which is a freak injury at a very young age for him. So he's probably going to be out of the season, and he was one of the standout stars in the preseason. But again,
the first few games.
Yeah.
yes, the resurgence of Rafinha is going to be key. So Rafinha, Yamal, and Lewandowski is one of the best front threes you can have. If all of them are in form. Like if Rafinha is in form, it's a very good top.
What seems to be working with them a lot, right? So like, I read up a little bit on Barcelona at the beginning of the season. So what Hansi Flick has done is he has changed the culture of the club from the lowest level to the highest level. He's got them training like the military. He actually went to a US naval base to kind of show them what discipline is all about. He doesn't allow casual attire before the training session. You have to wear your club casual clothes. You can't wear anything else. If you are late by even 2 minutes, you are questioned in front of the entire team why you are late. So a lot of these things kind of play a role in, how he wants to lead as a manager and as a leader. And if you see their games now, they don't seem to tire out. Like earlier, there was a thing with Barcelona wherein if you lose the ball, suddenly they may not really sprint back to kind of get the ball. Now it actually seems like a very, very fast-paced, I don't know how to describe it in the best possible manner, but if you see some of their games, right, it just comes across that they are very energetic and they're very hungry. And Danny Olmo, I saw him play like a couple of games in the last 2 games, and I think he actually kind of fits in very well in this team. When he actually joined, I wasn't sure where he would fit in, but him, Pedri have actually got a very, very good relationship in terms of how they can supply the final ball into the box. And then you've got Lewandowski and Rafinha to kind of score the goals right now.
I think in the midfield and in the attack, they are very much covered in terms of bench strength also. They are Ferran Torres, they are Fermin Lopez. They are very much there. Ansu Fati is also there.
Yeah.
He's injured, but he should be back soon. The only problem is going to be the defense.
In the defense, surprisingly, Inigo Martinez, who's 33, is partnered with Kubarsi, who's 17. And they seem to have a brilliant relation. Like, I think they're the only club, I think, which I've seen who has the same back 4 and the back 5 in the first 4 league games. Like, there hasn't been a change.
The Kubarsi distribution is also amazing for a
17-year-old, it's amazing, yeah.
He's that defense wala prodigy. If Yamal is that wala prodigy, Kubarsi is the one who is very underrated, I feel, as of now. Like, there should be more talks about him. Just because he's a central, I think that credit is not given. Like, if you hear Ernesto Valverde speak, he said they played against Barcelona and he said Kubarsi didn't even miss a single pass. So, and especially physically also, Barcelona are improving a lot. I've seen that at the play.
Yeah.
Bringing that German style, I think physically they are more focusing. Compared to Xavi. Xavi was more about technique and more about, the short passes and a very fun-filled training sessions. I think Flick has gotten that to a stricter way of coaching. I think anyway, but if it's strict or it's fun, it's only going to be judged by the results that the team shows. So anything can be good. We have to wait and watch. Only 4 games so far for them, but the start looks very good.
So any subplots or anything you want to share in these games?
Again, Bayern Munich, always Lewandowski and Flick against Bayern Munich. But other than that, I think it's a very easy draw for them, and top 8 is like a cakewalk, I feel. Atalanta and Benfica are possibly 2 of the weakest teams in pot 2, I think. So even in pot one, they have bought in Dortmund, which should not be a critical fixture for them. So top 8 is a non-negotiable. They should be there.
Manan, Varun, any comments on Barcelona?
No, I think you guys have covered it really well. I think an easy set of fixtures and it should be an easy top 8 finish for Barcelona.
I agree as well.
So
But
coming to
If you look at it, UV, if the seeding is put in place like it happens in tennis, Real Madrid has gotten a very much more difficult fixture list than a Barcelona. So I think seeding is what they can really improve on. The Champions League management, the UEFA can really improve on that. If they do it the tennis style, I think it can. Like if you see the list of fixtures between Real Madrid and Barcelona, it's a vast difference. Even though Real Madrid won the league last. So I
But
think
Real Madrid wants those fixtures. No, that's why this format is there.
I don't know about the internal politics, but typically Novak Djokovic is has won the Grand Slam. He will most probably get easier fixtures in the next Grand Slam, right? Like it should be like that. Pot 1, pot 2 is a very broad concept, and that leads to there's no advantage for the team which is winning the Champions League, but in the next.
the only difference which I can perceive is that in tennis, because it's an individual sport, I think year on year, you don't get extreme improvements in an individual, right? You may get slight improvements here and there, and then over a period of time, you see that union happening. Whereas in teams, suddenly if you see someone who's in like a Villa, like for example, a Villa can be a crazy opponent based on the Premier League, the amount of money they have, the manager, the atmosphere, the past which they kind of hold in this competition. So it's very subjective. It's actually the luck of the draw. And I think that variable always exists in football, right? Whether you look at a Champions League or you look at the FA Cup or you look at any of these tournaments. So I think I'm not so, again, it's up to the authorities, but I'm okay with the pot being what it is. Of course, if they could make it a little better, but they do it based on coefficients and the winners of the leagues of the top countries. So I think, again, they have some rationale in mind.
There's no winners of the league from this year. It's just the coefficients.
Oh, it's just the coefficients.
Yes, so like Leverkusen is in pot 2.
Okay, correct.
Bayern is in pot 1. So
Correct.
there's no league winners advantage. But it's also the difference between having a straight knockout and having a league format.
Yeah.
And also like having draws, like random draws made rather than sort of having a straight knockout with seedings that, okay, one will play 64, two will play 63, things like that. So
Correct.
that difference will always remain when you have difference in tournament structure.
Correct.
The structure is completely different. It's a group format versus your knockout format, right?
I think it'll balance out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Towards the end, I think it kind of balances out.
Yeah.
So yeah, Manan, would you like to take over Leverkusen's games?
So Leverkusen, I think they are one of the most exciting teams to look forward to this season. And they have some exciting games as well. So overall, it's a good package for a neutral fan or like someone getting into football. If they want to see one particular team this tournament, one of the underdog teams, then Leverkusen is a good option. They have good fixtures with Inter, Liverpool, of course, with the Xabi Alonso connection. Milan also sort of with the Xabi Alonso connection, considering he had that penalty in the 2005 Champions League final. So that is interesting. Again, Atleti with Real's collection with Xabi Alonso. But I mean, even if we don't look at the subplots, I feel that the games will be very high octane, like supercharged firepower games with Salzburg as well. So it's one team that as a neutral, I would enjoy watching. Like I would want to stay up at night and see that game for viewers in the Indian times. In terms of potential positioning, I feel they'll definitely qualify in top 24. I think that's a given. Top 8, I think, is possibly difficult for them, but top 16 should be doable. Like if I were Leverkusen, if I don't finish top 16, I would not be very happy with myself.
Fair point. Varun, Nishan, do you have any comments?
I think top 10, top 12 should be doable for them. I think, at least based on the season that they had last year, it's kind of and the kind of team that they have, I feel they should be able to make top 12, right? And again, like the bottom 4 fixtures are all winnable fixtures. Salzburg is a slightly tricky, but it's at home, right? So it kind of can be taken care of. And then I see 12 points over there, and then out of the top 4 fixtures, even if you get like 6 points or like 5 points, 6
Or
points,
even 3 points.
for me, I'm assuming 17, 18 points for the top 8 at least, right? So for me, it's like probably they might be on the cusp of top 8, but it'll be a close fight for them to get into top 8. But I think like easily top 12 is doable for them.
Leverkusen's last year's form, it would be easy top 8 for them. But
Yeah,
how they translate, how they translate that form this season is we are very unaware of. So it's very early to comment.
So I followed a couple of their Bundesliga games. The game week before this, they were again down. So I think the opposite team was leading 2-1, and then they scored a winner in the 97th minute. One was like 99th minute. Florian Wirtz scored a winner.
Yes.
And this week, the game week, it was exactly the opposite when they were 2-0 up, and then they lost 3-2. So it's not started off in the best possible manner this season thus far, but it's early stages. So I think over the next few weeks we'll come to know more.